Happy Monday, those of you at home. Hopefully you are warm and cozy in your PJs as we all left for school today. A very, very cold day. And I hope all your cars start if you have to go somewhere. We're going to start class today by going over some of the homework that you all will need to do. So here we go. Glad you tuned in. Pretty soon we won't have to do this anymore. Well, guys, we are going to get started. I always run out of time, so I want to make sure I can give you guys as much time in the class as we need. Just to remind you about your homework, you need to read pages 435 to 444. Your interview is due a week from today, so make sure that you get that done. Just be cautious. If you do it too early, like if you've already done it or you've got something scheduled for tomorrow, we haven't yet talked about all the theories. So you would have to then learn and read ahead to make sure you understand how to make those connections with your questions that you're going to ask. So I just want you to be aware of that. I also provided everybody with a hard copy of the actual rubric, and this is online, and if you're at home I will give you guys a hard copy tomorrow. But notice the difference. This is a 45-point project, the difference between excellent and acceptable. I tried to highlight or bold the words that is going to set you apart from, a few points here or a few points there that might eventually kind of add up. So make sure you look at that as you're writing and you're composing. One big fault that my experience as a teacher, a lot of students do, is they literally only put down exactly what they see here. And then they're like, well, I should get, this is like, if I wrote every single thing, you'd have like a 3-page rubric, right? So I'm trying to be condensed and summarize for you, really kind of what we're looking at here.
So is this interview supposed to be from our point of view? Like, are we supposed to use I and
Versus what?
I'm trying to figure out how you put the body paragraphs together. You started off with saying what question you asked and then their answer and then connect it.
Mm-hmm.
So you say I asked my grandma that and she answered that.
Yeah. And we're going to actually give you some examples today with Piaget too. So if you guys have questions about the rubric, let me know. In addition, you have a 40 studies. It's the second one. So you have 2 this chapter. 40 studies is number 19 that will be due for you guys. Today I'm collecting your other 40 studies, and it should be on hard copy on paper. So let's just put it over here in front of Maria next to Grant. That desk is open. If you are at home, make sure you bring your 40 studies about Harry Harlow tomorrow so that we have that. Also, your 40 studies number 19 will be due tomorrow. So, if you're behind and you're like, I didn't get that done, I had told you that you could turn that in late and still be given full credit, but Wednesday would be the absolute last day for full credit on that one. Tomorrow, though, everybody at home, you need to have the Harry Harlow one done as well as the Kohlberg morality one, and that's number 19. So you don't want to get too far behind is what I'm trying to say, because it's kind of like things will start to add up for you. So let's take out our packet and let's go over Piaget, playing the Piaget way, and let's make sure we just quickly review what Piaget stood for. I had it on PowerPoint, I had it on video, I lectured you through it. It was also in your book. Piaget is the theorist, and he talks about 4 types of stages that children go through in regards to their thought process. 1 is sensory motor, 2 is pre-operational, 3 is concrete operational, and this is formal operational, and this is in the correct order. So you start at 0 to 2 years and you move all the way up. So everybody on the purple, playing the Piaget way. Even if you didn't get it done, we are going to fill it out right now. One of the things that I have always remembered, it's a silly acronym, is stinking pigs can't fly. So SPCF. If that helps you remember, please write that down. So beginning at number 1, we'll start with you, Miss Maria. A child can explain that 3 times 2 represents 3 sets of 2. What stage would you put that in? No, it's going to be concrete. Yep. So it's more like 3 sets of 2, right? So, and the reason is because it's your actual concept is like mathematical operations. You have the ability to start placing and doing different things mathematically at that age. Number 2 is the answer I gave you guys in class, and that was a child doesn't, or I did it on the computer in my video. The answer was pre-operational and egocentric. So then we'll go to number 3. So a child is asked to add 3 and 2. Using his fingers, he counts and answers 5. Asked to then add 2 plus 3, the child uses his fingers again to get the same answer.
I said pre-operational.
It is pre-operational, very good. And then do you have a concept for that one?
Was it the reversibility?
Excellent, nice job. This is reversibility. So that child can go one way, but even though it's simple mental math, they can't mentally prepare it themselves. They have to actually do the adding on the fingers again because they struggle with that reversibility. Make sense? All right, Natalie, a child's given a cardboard box and they pretend it's a train. What stage?
I have no idea, but maybe the sense.
Okay, so sensory motor, remember I said is 0 to 2 years of age. This child is actually saying this box is a train. This box is my boat. So they have the ability to, the concept is an imagination. Like they can actually have imaginative play. That's the concept. So it's not sensory motor, so then it's pre-operational. Yeah. This would be more something that a 2 to a 7-year-old has the ability to do. Okay? Now, look at the difference, especially Natalie on this one. So, Charlie, a child is given a cardboard box. She explores it by opening and closing the flaps.
That would be sensory.
It is. Now, why? Why is that different than the previous one?
Because that's not like that's not like saying like even though this is this, I'm gonna pretend it's this. Like that thought process. It's just like looking at it.
And touching. The whole like, oh, you know, oh, it's opening or closing. Sensory motor is all about the touching. Exploring the world through the senses, as I said to you guys. Grant, a child proposes that maybe the color that you call red is the color that if he looked with your brain, he might call it yellow. What type of thinking is going through their mind? What stage?
This is pre-operational.
That's a pretty in-depth thing. I'm actually looking at it through your brain.
So they're concrete.
Keep going. It's formal operational. That's a very difficult task. And the reason is because the concept is abstract thinking. A concrete operational kid struggles with that thinking through the other lens. Okay? So just think back to when you were a kid. You know, that would be a different, and if this helps at all for anybody here in class or at home, as the questions become more difficult, you got to work your way up, right? Okay? So like if you're asking more difficult questions, the idea becomes more of the thought process can handle that and how they answer it. Adam, child pushes a button on a toy, it makes a sound. So the child repeats it over and over and over again. It is because of the sound, and they just want to hear it again and again and again. Do you know the concept for that one, Adam?
I don't remember the term, but I know it's talking about like repeating a certain.
It is, yeah. What do you think, Zoe?
Circular reaction.
Perfect. Circular reactions. Back to you, Maria. A child tells his friend this joke. I've got the best joke. What can leap higher than a tall building? anything. Tall buildings can't leap. The child's understanding of the two interpretations of the question indicate that he has reached what stage, Maria? It is concrete. You could have put down formal and it would score if you'd be able to explain the why, but it is concrete, and that's that whole logical thought process. So a child uses his understanding of molecular movement to predict how gas would behave in different conditions. Kind of a giveaway on that one. And why? What's the concept? Good. And I also said prediction. They can predict what's going to happen. If this happens, then this would happen in the world. All right, Nat. Mom takes a toy from a child, puts it under the blanket. The child does not look for it. This is going to be on your test. You need to know this concept. This is big. Star it. Here's my toy. You're my little kid. I say, look at the jar, look at the jar. Now I take a blanket. And you're looking around the room, and you don't have a clue that it's right here under this blanket because you can't see it. So what stage is that? Think of the thought process, how basic of a thought process that is. You just cannot understand that this still exists.
I want to say sensory.
You're right. It's sensory motor. That's the youngest. Now, the concept is what you need to know for your test. What is the concept we are talking about here?
I wrote down like it was like not out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, the concept though is called object permanence. Know it, star it. You'll see it on your test. Definition of object permanence. When something is out of sight, you don't know it still exists. If you have object permanence, and at about 7 months, children start to develop that they understand. So you guys get that, right? 7 months of age, object permanence starts to develop. If they don't have object permanence, they think it's gone. That's why it's super fun to play peekaboo with kids that are 4, 5, 6 months of age, because you can go like this, and they will think you're gone. And then you go like this, and they just have that that deep belly. If you've ever heard a little baby have that deep belly laugh, it's the best in the world. And they just, you can do this forever, and they'll just laugh and laugh. I've even done this. And they're like, then they just giggle and laugh and giggle and laugh. Just, they think you're gone. And so it's such a fun thing to see them transition to that. So object permanence. All right, back up to you, Charlie. Presented with a picture of 4 cats, 6 dogs. Child asks, which are there more of, cats or animals? The child responds correctly to animals.
Would that be concrete operation?
It is concrete operational, and the concept there is the whole hierarchy. Okay? Hierarchy of needs. Do you need me, Mr. Coker?
Charles speaking. Is he here?
He is here.
Can I make a brief announcement?
You can.
You will be getting a letter today stating that the National Merit, saying you moved on to finalist status, Charlie. So, you're one of 15,000 in America who've been named a National Merit finalist. You'll be eligible for 8,000 scholarships that they give. And the school of your choice, you want to indicate to them that you're now considered a finalist, as that will now ramp up the money they would love to give you for you to attend their wonderful campus. So,
Whoa, awesome, Charlie.
you'll be seeing that come to you in the mail, and here's the certificate from them. So, congratulations.
Can we all give him a round of applause, you guys? That's awesome, Charlie. Thank you, Mr. Coker. Okay, back to Charlie. That's wonderful. Happy for you. Grant. Upon overhearing his mother mention that it's difficult for a woman to make it to the top of a large corporation, the child asks why she just can't take the elevator.
Concrete.
You're giving him too much credit. It is. So that'd be something more of like a 4-year-old would just think, and the reason is because the concept is, you guys, one-dimensional. That's what you're going to put down for concept. They have one-dimensional thought process. I can give you an example of this. We were in, I don't know where we were somewhere in public, and one of my kids, I can't remember who said it, but they said something about a pregnant woman. And they didn't understand what pregnancy was. They didn't understand she was pregnant and going to have a baby, but she was very pregnant. And they just thought she was fat. And they just blurted it out. This is the age where kids, because they see things one-dimensionally, and they don't understand, like, oh, I probably shouldn't say that either. They're not trying to hurt people's feelings, but you know, a white kid might say about the first black person they see, oh, that person is chocolate, or something weird like that, because they've never seen a black person before, or vice versa. You know, seeing a white person for the first time, if you grew up with a bunch of black kids, you'd be like, what the heck is that? And, you know, you just say it for what it is to you. It's very one-dimensional. All right, up to you, Mr. Adam. Upon seeing his Aunt Sally, who lives out of town, the child cries.
This would be pre-operational or pre-operating.
No.
Really?
So think about this. I don't see my aunt.
Uh-huh.
She's my aunt, but I never see her. Now she comes in and she's smothering me, and I'm crying because why? Why is that child crying? I don't see her.
Yeah.
They don't know them, right? So even though you're my aunt, like if you guys do you have any relatives that you don't see? So it's sensory motor. Because of WISO, what's this called? Stranger anxiety. Have you guys do you have relatives that you see maybe once a year or maybe at the most? You guys aren't going to cry when you see them. Do you see the difference? Like you might feel awkward talking to them. My kids always say that, like, what am I supposed to say? I don't even know this person, you know, right? But you still could carry on a conversation. You're not going to run out of the room crying. A baby, on the other hand, who only sees grandma once because she lives in Texas, is going to freak out when grandma comes in and tries to pick up that baby because they're a stranger to them. Last but not least, as a class, what do you guys think? Mama gives one cookie for the snack and the child begs for more. Hey, girl. Her mom breaks the cookie into 2 pieces, but now the child's happy. This is an important concept that you're going to see on the test. What age, if I gave that child 1 cookie, they're mad because they want 2. So all I have to do is literally break the cookie in half. I'm not giving them 2 cookies. I'm just breaking it up, and the child's like, oh, I'm so happy. Now I have 2 cookies. What stage? Take a guess. Nobody wants to guess. What did you say, pre-operational? Yes, pre-operational. And what is the concept that you need to know for your test that describes this? Zoe, she's my go-to girl today. Conservation. That's right. Know that word. Conservation. And so conservation, when we look at that, that is the whole ability, you guys, to be able to understand. When things change size, you know, it's not necessarily, we haven't changed much of anything. We used to do this with bottles of liquid to our little ones that would come in. Let's do a final review about the last thing, which is we're going to have a little dating game. Well, it's not really a game. All right. Welcome, Rach. All right, Adam. I'm going to give you're our bachelor. You're going to ask the questions, and and we will answer the questions. All right, so your job as a class is to try to figure out which stage the people that are answering the questions are in. Make sense? All right, Adam, what's our first question?
What would you do to show that you're interested in me?
What would you do to show you are interested in me? And you guys can go in any order. Doesn't matter. Who would like to start?
No, I have it highlighted. I would gaze longer at your face because of its beauty. I always looked into the eyes of those I found novel and intriguing.
Okay. No. Everybody's got to answer.
I'll throw it on a second. I would draw you a picture filled with hearts, rainbows, and puppies. I'm sort of a budding poet, so I might also try to recite you a little poem. Don't judge me though. My language skills are still developing, but of course, probably you should try to show your interest in me.
I'll go. I would rearrange the alphabet and put you next to I. If that didn't work, I would literally say I have an interest in you. I prefer to be pretty straightforward and logical and stuff.
One more, Miss Maria. Okay, so that was your first clue. There's 4 questions. Give us your next question, my dear.
All right. What do you like to do for fun?
What do you like to do for fun, Charlie?
Oh, there is nothing more fun than a good old-fashioned game of hide and seek. That game has always fascinated me. It's like one minute you see them, and the next you don't. But sometimes I just like someone to read a good book to me. It's nice to hear a person to read a story to you, especially if they have such a nice voice like yours.
Zoe?
I love to throw theme parties where everyone has to come as a specific person. It's so fun and exciting to pretend to be someone who you are not. Halloween is my favorite holiday.
Natalie?
I hope you don't think this is too boring, but I love solving puzzles. Picture puzzles, word puzzles, even number puzzles. I actually have a word search puzzle book in my pocket right now.
And finally, Maria, what do you like to do for fun?
I love reading. My favorite books are written by authors like Stephen Hawking and Sigmund Freud. It's so fascinating to ponder their theories and try to get into their minds. Studying these great scholars motivate me to think about my own thinking.
All right, question number 3. What do we have, my dear Adam?
Okay. What would be your ideal first date?
First date, Charlie.
An afternoon at the beach. I love the smell of salt water and the feel of the cool sand as I dig my toes underneath. The water feels so nice after baking in the hot sun. We would top it off with a nice cold glass of milk.
Zoe?
I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, so I think it would be fun to do a ride-along with a police officer. It would be fun to be in that role-play situation. After that, maybe we could go do a little karaoke. I'm probably one of the best singers you will ever meet. Let me give you a preview. No, thank you.
Miss Natalie?
I'm pretty traditional. Dinner and movie is always a great first date. Afterwards, you could come over to my house, or I could come over to your house and we could play Boggle.
Finally, Maria, what's your ideal first date?
I would love to attend a lecture by Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's so brilliant and makes me want to explore more about our world. Afterwards, we could have coffee and talk about the plans we have for ourselves.
Very good. Last question, Adam.
What would you say is your biggest personality flaw?
What's your biggest personality flaw, Charlie?
Some people say I'm too clingy and touchy-feely. I guess it's just how I express my affection.
How about you, Zoe?
Well, honestly, I can't really think of any flaws, but if I have to think of something, let's see. I guess I could be a little selfish sometimes. I don't always have the ability to see things from another person's perspective.
Very good. Natalie?
I guess it would have to be that I live in the present. I'm a YOLO type of person. I don't always see the big picture. I have difficulty thinking about and making plans for the future.
Good. Maria, last but not least.
It could be that I think about my thinking too much. I am in a constant state of reflection. My closest friends say that I act older than I really am, and I should loosen up and enjoy moments that I am currently experiencing.
All right. What, Grant, was Charlie? What stage was Charlie in?
Sensory.
Sensory motor. What gave it away?
I wasn't expecting that question.
Charlie, what gives it away that you're sensory motor?
Everything is just like what they would look at and what they would feel. It has nothing like about like thoughts in their head.
Yeah, like specifically like the beach,
Yeah.
the hide and seek, right? Was in there. Okay, what about Zoe? She was the second one. What was she?
She was pre-operation.
Pre-operation. What gave it away for her? Either one of you.
It said that I can't really see things from another person's perspective, so I'm looking at that.
Okay, more one-dimensional. Anything else stated, guys? Now, Grant doesn't have the paper.
My language still developing.
Your language is still developing, and the big,
Confidence and like
Oh,
selfish.
very much an egocentric. The world revolved around Zoe. She's the best person out there, right? Okay, over here to Natalie. What stage was Nat?
Concrete.
She's concrete. What gave it away, Nat?
The puzzle part, I feel like.
Puzzle was good.
There were puzzles in this, and I just said I
The whole first date was like sticking to what was normal, which was what she knew, was nothing out of the realm. Maria's our last, and she's going to be pretty obvious. What gave it away for Maria?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
And her book choices, right. All right, on the back of your rubric that you all have, let's flip it over. Today, as a class, let's brainstorm this. The interview, paragraph 1 is Piaget. We now spend some time reviewing Piaget, talking about him. As the 6 of you, what could be a question, and you can all use the same questions. It doesn't matter. Your answers are going to be different. But what question could you potentially use that will connect you to Piaget some way, shape, or form? Let's think about this as a class and brainstorm. Yes, Charlie.
I mean, I don't know exactly like how to phrase it, but I know like the idea of it is like asking like, did you play any sports when you were younger, and how good were you at those sports, and seeing if they like, if it's like, or like maybe even asking like, how good did you feel like you were then, and do you still think now that you're actually that good?
Where would that fit though?
That would be the pre-operational.
Why would that be pre-operational?
The egocentric, like finding the back.
Oh, you're trying to go you're trying to see if they thought they were hot tamale. The fear I would have with that is this, they might be more like thinking about high school instead of like 5 years old. But you could take Charlie's idea and run with it, guys. Instead of saying what sports did you play, what could we ask them? Be a little bit more broad. What games did you play when you were a young kid? What toys did you play with? If maybe they remember a specific toy that they really enjoyed. Now let's pretend I am your interviewer, or E. You ask me, Aunt Sandy, what games did you play when you were a kid that you can remember? And I gave you, we used to play church, we used to play kickball. Would that be enough information for you to create the connection? It's not. You got to give me a follow-up question. What could be your follow-up question? Yep.
What position did you play in kickball?
Oh, okay. Well, we didn't really have positions. We didn't really have a position.
In the first grade.
Yeah, we just took turns. But maybe you could ask more of a general question. Like, you could say something like, well, tell me about the kickball and where did you play it? You know, what, tell me about when you played church. Where did you play church? We also played school. Now I have to tell you more of a story, right? So I would say things like, well, when we played church, we were in our living room, and we would put, and this is true, we would put out chairs, and they were our pews. My sister wore her bathrobe, and she was the priest. And then we went into the kitchen, and we got bread, and that was our bread. And we stole all of the books from the church. We really did, so that we had our hymns that we could actually use in our living room. Now, where are you putting me, guys? Did I give you enough information, as I told you, to be able to connect? Now that's more information, right? So do you see how you have to have kind of that follow-up question? Where would you guys place that? So here's the bulk of your paragraph. Yeah, Charlie?
Concrete operation.
I would definitely say concrete. Why?
Because of like the, first off, like thinking of taking something from somewhere to your house.
Okay.
Bathrobe as another like form of attire.
Yeah, the ability to, what was I describing to, the ability to plan, right? Okay. Now what if I said to you, I played school when I was a little girl, and I remember having all my stuffed animals out. And they were my students, you know, whatever. Would you change maybe your response to what? Why? What was it? What am I doing? What's the concept? Symbolic thinking, imaginative play, right? Okay, good. Now, do you see how we're formulating this paper? Okay, and we're putting it together. Give me another brainstorm question you could potentially ask your elderly person. Because if you look at the far right column, you need to have more than one question. It's not just one. You need to have a few. Okay? Give me another question we could ask them. Anything coming to mind? One question that I thought was really good from my other class, they said, could you ask what was your favorite age that you were growing up? Like, what was your most memorable age that you were as a child? And if I say to you, oh my God, I remember going, my greatest memory, or you might even just say, what was your best memory? You know, and then that's more general. And then you can narrow it down to how old were you when you did that. So like, Miss Horner or Aunt Sandy, what was your best memory as a kid? And I would say, when we camped. Camping was a lot of fun as a kid. And then you would ask me some follow-up questions, right? You'd be like, whoa, how old were you when you camped? You know, what did you do when you were camping? That type of thing, right? So now you can plug it into one of those areas. I also had, what if you have somebody that you're interviewing that's like, I don't know, I don't remember? Because you could get older people that are like, I don't remember. Somebody in my previous class had an idea that I thought was great. They said, could we do it like a backdoor approach where you ask them about their children? And I thought that was good. So like, maybe you ask me, what was your best memory? And I say, I don't know. Okay, you have kids. What was your best memory of your children? Oh my God, my best memory is holding them, snuggling with them, keeping them, you know, having them on my hip. I really did like that. Now you're putting me and my memory with the child into the sensory motor stage. Do you understand how you can kind of get to the questions? If they can't remember it, maybe they can remember as a parent what was your kid's favorite thing to play? I mean, I can remember that. That's much easier for me than to remember my memory. All right, I'm hoping this helps you tomorrow in class with you guys at home, and then you guys hopefully tune in. We're going to discuss Kohlberg, who's the second guy on your thing, and morality, and I'll do the same thing with those guys. Give me some questions. Let's talk about it as a class. All right, so that's getting tucked away. Let's talk about Harry Harlow. Rach, if you have that, that'd be great. We did collect those. So Harry Harlow in black on the board, and I know at home you can't see this, but this is not information you need to know for a test. I just like to fill you in a little bit about this guy. So as you read 40 Studies, Harry Harlow, his original name was Harry Israel. He was born in a farm community in Iowa back in 1905, and you guys, he stuck out like you couldn't believe. He didn't fit in at all, at a time when not fitting in wasn't cool. So he wasn't a farmer, he wasn't an athlete, he wasn't in the FFA or Future Farmers of America, and he wasn't an athlete. He really loved art. He liked the arts, the world of the arts. This small little farming community was not very accepting to that. He chose to self-isolate. He was much more of an introvert. Everybody thought there was something wrong with him, so then he just kind of pulled away from more and more people. In addition, he had a speech impediment, so people looked at him like, what the hell's wrong with you? Because nobody was really understanding the differences at the time. So when he graduated from high school, he couldn't wait to get out of Dodge. He couldn't wait to get out of Iowa. And he went as far as he could, and he went all the way out to California. And he got his undergrad degree, but he got his degree and he needed to actually get his advisor to write him a letter of recommendation to go on to his master's program, and his advisor was Tierman. Do you guys remember Tierman from our intelligence unit? He was the man that came up with the World War I test. He was the man that believed you were born with your intelligence and it's fixed. You can't change it. And he thought dumb people should never reproduce because you're going to make more dumb people in the world. And he thought immigrants were bad for America. Remember all those really bad things? Well, here Harry Israel comes to him and says, will you please write me a letter of recommendation? And he's looking at that name. Just even the name is irking him. And the fact that this kid is from Iowa. So he said, I'll write you a letter of recommendation as long as you change your name. So he literally made Harry change his last name to Harlow, which he did, and he agreed. He wrote him this recommendation to get into the University of Wisconsin-Madison to do his advanced degree, and Harlow was pissed because he was mad that he got sent back to the Midwest. And he's like, I tried my hardest to get out of the Midwest and now I'm back there. Well, this is where he accidentally, literally accidentally fumbled upon the fame that he had, because he started to study these rhesus monkeys based on intelligence and IQ after studying under Tierman. And he would separate the baby monkeys from the mother monkeys, studying their intelligence. And what he was noticing is they had these huge, like, what is going on? Like, he was watching their behaviors. So this is where he comes up with the idea of, I'm going to take a baby monkey and I want to see if it responds, and this is where you read, to the wire monkey that has a bottle versus the wire monkey that has a cloth. And what you all read was it would go to this monkey for nourishment and it would come over here to this monkey for comfort. So the big thing you must remember as far as testing is concerned about Harry Harlow is contact comfort, which is what I'm assuming after you read that you all remembered. That he's coming off an era of B.F. Skinner, which you already know who B.F. Skinner is from our learning unit. B.F. Skinner said, don't spoil that child, because if you pick up that baby, when that baby's crying, positive and negative reinforcement, you are encouraging that baby to cry every single time, and you'll just keep spoiling it, and it's not a good behavior. And Harlow says, after his studies, absolutely not. That's hogwash. If your child, your baby is crying, pick it up, feed it, change its diaper, whatever it needs, or maybe it just needs this, contact comfort. The love to know that they are securely in the arms of someone that loves them. And so that was revolutionary at the time. People didn't really follow that because I really truly followed Skinner. You also read about how he wanted to see what happened to abused monkeys. And then he developed what you read about with the Iron Maiden. And the Iron Maiden would shoot out these terrible spikes, literally painful weapons, air so powerful that it would throw the baby monkey back in the cage. It literally abused the baby monkey. And what did the baby monkey each time keep doing? Crawled back to the abuser. What do we know about children? Well, children do the same thing. If they are abused, will they continue to crawl back to their abused parent? Yes. Because why? More than anything, what do we want as human beings? We want that love. I mean, you could say it. They want that love. They want that feeling that that parent, even if they abuse them, there's a minuscule little chance that that parent will still love them somewhere deep down. And so monkeys aren't much different from us. And they like that contact, and they need that contact. Now, the piece that it didn't really talk about is he takes it one more step. And I apologize as I say this because it's so offensive. But what he wanted to do was he wanted to figure out what happens when that baby monkey grows up to be a big monkey. What kind of mom is that baby monkey going to be? The baby monkey who was always neglected, who didn't really have a mother itself, who had this wire monkey. Will it be a normal mother? And what he found is no. First of all, he put the monkey, when it became reproductive age, in a cage with a male monkey, and that female monkey became so violent, there was absolutely no animal instinct in that female monkey to allow that male monkey to reproduce. So then what Harlow developed is what he calls is a restraining rack, otherwise known, and he called it this, a rape rack. And that's where I apologize because it's such an offensive term. He literally tied the baby monkey down and then allowed the male monkey to come into the cage, mount the female monkey, they inseminated, and what happened was when that female monkey became pregnanted and she had her babies, they often would kill the babies themselves or self-harm, a lot of self-harm. So they would chew or bite or scratch or claw at themselves. They self-isolated. Monkeys are animals that want to be with packs, and this, you could just see it. These animals that were raised on these wire monkeys with these cloths didn't know how to socialize and be normal themselves. So just having a blanket wasn't enough. They actually needed, obviously, the interaction too. What did we learn from it? Well, one big thing today scientists and doctors still do after a baby is born, instantaneously, if everything checks out real quick and we know that that baby is pretty good, that baby will be brought up to the skin of that mother, skin to skin contact. Through Harlow, we understand now the studies of attachment and how important that skin to skin is. In addition, they now have made, they call them snugglies, but there's different names for them, but they're basically devices that women wear, and then they stick their babies in them. Now, this has been around forever. You know, people in tribal countries or smaller, non-industrialized countries where women actually had to work throughout the day would stick their babies in some type of papoose to carry them around. Well, through Harlow, we learned it's okay to actually carry your baby around all day and have them right there. I don't have a little device, but if you could understand, if this baby was literally, die. I'm throwing babies around, but you guys get the point. So that's Harry Harlow. So let's flip it to the second part of that learning target. I think it's a neon green sheet in your packet. Neon yellow. Neon yellow. Yes. Keep going. Second page of the neon yellow. So the second page, Mary Ainsworth, circle her name. You're going to need to know her. She's in the box. And then you need to know her attachment styles, and she's got 3 of them there. Secure, circle secure attachment, anxious ambivalent or highlight, whatever works best for you, and then anxious avoidant and secure attachment. So there's 3 types of attachments she did. We need to make sure we understand what those are, so let's do that right now. So Charlie, kick us off with secure attachment, please.
The child will explore freely while the caregiver is present, will engage with strangers, will be visibly upset when the parent departs, and happy to see the parent return. The child will not engage with a stranger if the caregiver is not in the room. The child will seek to make contact with the parent when they return.
Okay, so there's some things, so let me back you up a little bit. Mary Ainsworth is a name you're going to want to remember, just like Harlow. Mary Ainsworth did a study about attachment, and she called this the strange situation. That was the name of her study. She brought in parents, and they had their children. And what she observed was 2 things. What did the child do when the parent was in the room? And what did the child do when the parent left the room? Following me? So a securely attached kid, when the parent is in the room, and there's other kids here, and there's toys, and there's strangers, the securely attached child will be hesitant but willing to leave mom as long as they can still keep an eye on for mom. So if mom's over here where my plants are, if I can still see mom, I might come over to this train set because that looks super exciting. That's a securely attached child. Now what happens when mom leaves for a securely attached child? That child is going to show distress. Make sure you note that or underline that somewhere if it's in there. That child shows that they are upset. And then, and here's the other piece, but the child can be distracted if they're securely attached. So if Rachel's my babysitter and she sees that I'm upset, she can get me to play with something else eventually and I will calm down. If you ever have any experience with babysitting or little kids, maybe some of this might make a little bit more sense to you all. All right. And then when my mom comes back, I can be, I'm happy to see her. Like it's a reunion type of thing. All right. And I'm not worried. Anxious, ambivalent. Adam, what do you got?
The child with an anxious and ambivalent attachment style is nervous about independent exploration of strangers, even when the parent is present. When the caregiver departs, the child is extremely distressed. The child will be ambivalent when the parent returns and will seek to remain close to the caregiver, but will be resentful and also resistant when the caregiver initiates attention.
And that sentence is really, really important. So now we have Junior with mom, and Junior sees the train set, but Junior is not going to leave mother's leg, like glued to mom's side. Now, I'll come over to this train set. Junior will come over to the train set only if mom comes with them. Even if mom's over there, Junior will not leave because Junior doesn't trust that my mother is not going to leave. So Junior gets that really, really anxious feeling even when mom is in the same room. But here's the key. When mom leaves, Junior won't calm down. Like, it'll go on for hours. Junior will cry. Even if Rachel, the best babysitter in the world, tries to distract, Junior will not be calmed down. And finally, when mom returns, Junior is happy, but doesn't show Junior's happy. Junior is ticked off at that mother. Like, you left me, and is going to want to be near her, but doesn't want to be held, you know? And then mom will try to pick up the baby, Junior, and then Junior will get all mad and want to be set down. But then Junior wants to be picked up. It's this endless cycle of I can't make up my mind. And then the last one, the anxious avoidant. The big thing here is the Junior doesn't care if mom leaves the room. Like, could care less, doesn't even notice when mom's gone. And then when mom returns, doesn't make any difference. Because as I put on the board, the caregiver is really not available for the child. Therefore, the child physically and emotionally is quite independent. So real quick before you leave, let's just do the first three, okay? You can do the rest on your own if you want to check. But you will get questions like this on your test. Neil cries when her mom leaves the room and seeks a hug when she returns. What kind of kid is that? Secure. Amanda shows indifference to her mother's presence. Doesn't care if mom's here or not. Anxious avoidant. Jorge is clingy, will not leave mom's side. Anxious ambivalent. That's right. David's mom invites her to her friends over for coffee. David freely interacts with mom's friends, tries to engage them in his play. Secure. Kara's mom works outside the home. When mom returns, Kara will play near her but doesn't attempt to make contact with her because she's mad at her. Anxious ambivalent. And then the next one, Philip's father enters the house. He tries to cuddle Philip, give him a hug, but Philip struggles to get free and doesn't seem to want to contact with his father. He doesn't even want to be near his dad. Anxious, avoidant. Yes. Have a good lunch, everybody. Sorry I kept a couple more minutes. Hopefully you got something out of today. We'll see you all at home tomorrow. We'll be talking about Kohlberg, morality, and your 40 studies. So make sure you guys get that done. Take care. Stay warm.